All right, so today we're taking a look at the Milwaukee M18 fuel Nexus 6-gallon wet dry vacuum. The model number for this guy is 0915-20. This is the second generation wet dry vacuum from Milwaukee. I think the biggest, well, there's two really big differences between some of the existing first generation wet dry vacs versus what this one has to offer. The first one being very apparent is this is Packout compatible. So you do have the ability to store a couple of Packout components on the top of this, so that it kind of doubles as more than just a wet dry vacuum. It's also a storage piece for you. I use it mostly for storing my some of the accessories that I picked up to go alongside or work in tandem with the wet dry vac. The other big difference between this wet dry vac and some of the first generation, or all of the first generation wet dry vacs, is this is a Nexus, or it's their new system from Milwaukee is called Nexus. By definition, Nexus is the point at which numerous components come together to create a system. So essentially, with this, you can attach a couple of add-on dust mitigation systems and debris mitigation systems in the middle of this wet dry vacuum, and basically it expands the functionality of the wet dry vac beyond just that of a vacuum, but also, like I said, you can mitigate dust, mitigate debris, and it just helps your workflow. So as a wet dry vac in and of itself, Milwaukee does claim that it can run for up to 40 minutes on max with a 12.0 high output forged battery. I actually have a 12.0 high output non-forged battery. I've had a chance to use this thing quite extensively throughout various areas of my home. I think the time period, or the 40 minutes of runtime, I think that equates out to about 1,800 square feet of cleaning space or cleaning capacity. Like I said, I don't have a forged 12-volt battery, but this 12-volt battery, I can pretty much clean my, call it 800 square foot garage in one session, pretty in depth, or as in depth as I'd like to. So it definitely has sufficient runtime, especially for a battery powered tool. I know that anytime you've got a tool that's using a blower motor, whether it's an actual blower or a vacuum like this, you are going to eat up some battery relatively quickly. So from that standpoint, I do feel like this wet dry vac does offer sufficient runtime for a cordless tool. So it does come as a 6-gallon unit only. So there are two different models, two different variations of this particular model. So you got one with a vac link and one without the vac link accessory. This one that I have actually does not come with the vac link, but it does come with a 1 7/8 inch hose. Also, it comes with two wand extensions, a floor tool, and then also a crevice tool. There are a plethora of additional accessories that are available for this wet dry vac, so I would definitely take a look at some of those. Yeah, so as you can see here, the Packout compatibility really does expand the storage capacity or capability of the wet dry vac itself. I've got two small parts organizers here full of various accessories, adapters, nozzles, and things for some of my more specific cleaning applications. But I do love that the Packout compatibility gives you the ability to add things like this, and then you can still add a few more things and almost make the wet dry vac almost like a toolbox base instead of one of the rolling cart Packouts. There's a few things to take into consideration as far as this wet dry vac goes. The biggest, I think, advantage point that you get with this is that it is cordless, so you don't have to deal with tripping hazards. You don't have to worry about, you know, dragging around an additional cord with you just to get your work done. It offers impressive suction. The runtime, I think, is sufficient. I wouldn't say that it's, you know, extraordinary or anything like that, but it's certainly sufficient to get a considerable amount of work done. And then lastly, you know, the good considerations is that it is Packout compatible, so that does give you quite the expansion capability or capacity to, you know, be able to move around certain parts and components with the system as you need. Some of the things that I would say are not so great about this wet dry vac, not that they're necessarily bad things, but just, you know, you got to take the good with the not so good sometimes. The big thing is that it does come without a battery, so it's not necessarily kitted from the traditional standpoint that, you know, Milwaukee typically offers. However, I believe that, you know, the way that they're kind of packaging and making some of the components available is you can kind of look at it as a build it or do it yourself kit, build it yourself kit. So, you know, it's not a super overly priced piece of equipment. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's overly priced at all. So therefore, you know, a lot of the components are kind of right in line with the price sensitivity of the unit itself. So you're not going to be out, you know, hundreds upon hundreds of dollars just to build you out a good vacuum system. If you want to get into some of the add-on components, you know, you're talking 100 or 150 bucks. We'll cover those in a later video, hopefully in the next day or two, but you can certainly check those out. Hey, thanks for taking the time to check out the video today. If you found any of this information useful, please consider liking or subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to drop a comment below. I love interacting with folks and having an open dialogue about some of the tools and the developments that are going on in the industry. So we'd love to keep that conversation moving. So as always, again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.